Mr. Worldwide.
Hey, we're going to get started as people come in the room. I think I would be remiss if I didn't give this brother a proper introduction. There's so much to say about him, and there's so much to say about what he's doing currently, and we're going to get into that. But welcome back to another episode. I guess we're still in quarantine life, Global Brothers Podcast, and I'm excited. I'm flattered to moderate. I guess I'm still a co-host, but right now, our featured guest, is one half of Global Brothers Podcast. He's in somewhere in Africa, as he puts it, in Rwanda. He is the founder and CEO of AFRIKANEKT. He is a cultural entrepreneur, cultural shifter. No better guy that I've ever met in regards to trying to change the world. My brother, Marlon, welcome to the show, my brother.
Hey, man, thanks for having me, bro. Thanks for having me. It's interesting to be on this side of the Global Brothers desk, but from one brother to another, what's good?
We still got to pound it up like we always do.
Oh.
Yeah. Let me tell you, man, I think about MKO coming to the UAE and making his mark. And, you know, a lot of people who even Jeff is in the room, Emmy's in the room, people who go abroad and do their thing. Brother, you are on your second continent, third continent, if you count the Western Hemisphere in the USA. And, but you're in the motherland. Please start from the beginning. What are you doing? Why? Break down some of the reason that you decided to make a leap in 2020 during a pandemic.
Wow. Okay.
I know that's a loaded question, but just let it go, bro.
Yeah, a little bit of unpacking to do there, but So I'm in Rwanda at the moment. Why did I choose Rwanda? Several reasons. From rule of law, ease to do business, transparency, cleanliness, stability, and just really open country to new ideas, technology, and encouraging of small businesses, as well as they have a great youthful workforce that's really engaged in the future of the country. So I feel like they speak with one voice in terms of what they want collectively, and that's really showing through in the people that I meet. What am I doing?
So I'm gonna have to Charlemagne you right here and stop right there, because you said a mouthful. It hasn't always. I would even think that some of the people in the room, some of the people around the world, we don't know this about Rwanda. We know we've seen that happened 30 years ago. Can you tell us how Rwanda recovered to be that tech hub from what happened?
Yeah, it's a big question that I would say, from what I know, I don't know everything, but from what I know, it looks like through a coming to grips with what happened, as opposed to sweeping it under the rug, or as we see in the U.S. with slavery, as well as in South Africa with apartheid, whereas these wrongs have been acknowledged, but they haven't necessarily been righted. In Rwanda, I think the difference is that the wrong has been...
no repair.
Right, exactly. The wrong has been acknowledged, as well as they continually work on the relationships to heal what has happened, through like a day of mourning, which happens every year, through the genocide monuments and museum, and these things, and then even there's certain protocols that call for an end to our tribalism. So there's no actual tribes in terms of being spoken about in a vocal kind of way. So people aren't saying I'm this or I'm that. Everyone here is Rwandan, and you can literally feel that pride of spirit with everybody. That especially the young people, they're just Rwandan. Like the majority of people are under 30 years old, so they didn't necessarily live through that trauma. They're growing up now with the knowledge of it because, again, they're not being made to forget. The genocide monuments and museums and these things are here. The National Day of Remembrance and Mourning, happens every year. Even they have a specific day of the month, whereas the entire country gets together and cleans up like their neighbor's yard. That's even part of like that whole feeling of I'm taking care of my neighbor because we're one country together. So that's how I've been able to start that reconciliation process and continue that over into another generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it sounds communal. And there's so many civilizations in Africa that existed before European contact that were communal. Even in the tribal era, they were still a communal civilization. So of course, seeing what's happening in America, we can go down that road, but we're not. How do you feel about what you're experiencing? How are you being received? But give us your emotions around this move.
Oh boy. This is not my first time on the continent. Probably 3 previous trips already now. I've been to Kenya, Tanzania, and now Rwanda. So just East Africa so far, but that's soon going to grow. So my feeling of being back on the continent is just that feeling at home again. I felt this the first time I came to the continent when I went to Kenya and then Tanzania, and I don't feel any different about that now, but I think that the feeling is amplified given that this time I have a mission. And I have a specific predetermined goal, which I see as destiny, and really creating a legacy for more than myself, but millions of people through the mission that I've answered the call on. I'm not even necessarily I planned anything. With that great responsibility, comes that. I'm thinking the word pressure for some reason, but I don't really mean pressure, but it comes that mission of just answering the call and being obedient to do that. So I feel like our Mother Africa has called me into what I'm doing out here now, and everything else that happens is just the steps that we have to go through in order to make it happen.
Sounds more like a ministry, more like something that you were called to do, as you mentioned. So let's segue. Good transition, brother. Let's segue into AFRIKANEKT, okay? Because you are on the continent not just for some type of personal enlightenment, although you're getting that. You're there for business, okay? You're there to change some things. You're there to connect, pun intended. Let's talk about AFRIKANEKT.
Sure, yeah, that's my favorite topic. So AFRIKANEKT is a mobile application that's what we see as transformative in its goals to be that technology platform that really creates the ability for continental Africans and global diaspora to connect together in a safe space. And what I mean by that is obviously we have the Facebook and the Instagrams and Twitters, etc., all these other platforms, but what platforms do we as Black people own? And we'll see when we count in on one finger, on one hand, that quite quickly we can come to the communal answer of none. So AFRIKANEKT is that super application that ticks a lot of boxes. It's a closed technological ecosystem that combines the ability to enhance communication, education, healthcare, financial technology, tourism, entertainment, so trade, which is a big one. So pretty much everything that, for the most part, you're doing in society, AFRIKANEKT is able to enhance that with not just entertainment kind of things that like pretty much social media has been very good at in the past, entertainment and communication, but utilitarian module that actually help you to live your life and live life abundantly.
We're missing some key points. Real quick, we're missing some key points of AFRIKANEKT because you're breaking up. So can you just go back a little bit because we're missing some things.
Okay. Apologies for the feed, everybody. Let's try that again. So AFRIKANEKT is a closed technological ecosystem that combines several societal functions that enhance how people operate in life. And this is everything from education, healthcare, financial technology, agriculture, communication, entertainment, and trade, just to name a few. So with all of these modules, we call them, we have combined these together to create a utilitarian user experience that people can actually make finances on, whereas they can make money on from like the trading module, for instance. So if like whatever you trade, you can put it onto AFRIKANEKT's trading module, which is called TradeConnect, and be able to create a marketplace for yourself and exponentially increase your awareness of your business.
When last night I was with two dear colleagues, friends of mine, family, basically. We were at dinner, and I tried to give an elevator pitch of AFRIKANEKT, and I didn't do it justice. But the way you described it now, it's almost like this app, and it's actually insulting to just call it an app, because what it appears that you've done is you shrank the internet and all that it offers and tailored it, a bespoke tailor for the continent. Like everything that you can possibly do, you've tailored it to fit the continent. Would that be correct?
It's very close, yeah, very close to what we've done. It's a Pan-African mindset from like the get-go. So what drives us is three things. Number one, increase intra-African trade. Up until now, intra-African trade has stood between 7% and 10%, meaning the majority of the time we're trading outside of Africa. So obviously finances are not being circulated in the continent itself, which is a big issue. Through our trading module, we'll be able to increase that exponentially. Number two would be to increase intra-African travel. So we've noticed that travel, historically, when Africans are able to travel internationally, they much more prefer to go to Europe, to go to Middle East, to go to America, and the reasons being has been access to air routes. So like airlines domestically flying to neighboring countries. This has been a big issue. We see this starting to change with a domestic flight carriers such as Rwanda, such as Ethiopian Airlines, which is our number one in Africa and actually ranked globally. Such as a Uganda Air. So you have a lot of small airlines that are now answering the call of really changing the trajectory of travel. But also that's going to take a concerted effort of tourism boards in all of these countries, because traditionally the tourism boards have not worked together and definitely have not done a good job of promoting what they have as a country. A few exceptions has been, like South Africa, Kenya, which is very highly ranked in terms of East Africa. But even when they are doing a good job, it's mainly for a particular thing. So
Yeah.
we don't want everyone only looking at the continent as a place to see, the big five animals. Sure, that's great in terms of it's a unique tourism offering that only in Africa can you see in nature, the big five, but also Africa has rich cultures that are like literally millennia years old, that you can get engrossed in. And a lot of these cultures have changed very little, through time. So they still have their oral history and these kinds of things. And we have to protect this by actually supporting it. So like there's that standpoint. Through what we're doing, we really want to make partnerships with the global diaspora to invest in the continent, and more than monetarily and financially, that's great, but also with your time, so with your time of giving of your skills and intellectual resources, whatever can be of great use to the continent. There's been a brain drain over generations, and we need to return this. So a lot of the modules within AFRIKANEKT are actually assisting to bring our journeys closer together and build bridges.
Let's stay here for a little longer. We asked Akon, I would say almost a year ago now, we asked him about the African Continental Free Trade. So you've been there about 3 weeks. What are you learning about that, and how does AFRIKANEKT connect nations through the Continental Free Trade Agreement?
Yeah, good question. So the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement is a landmark piece of trade legislation that's trying to get 54 countries on the same page. It's no easy feat. That's for sure. European Union, for example, is a fraction of that, and it took them a long time to get everybody on one page and together. So this is definitely a process. The most exciting part of that process is that the majority of the countries have ratified, this at this point, and are interested to see how a unified African Trade Pact can enhance and encourage business and prosperity on the continent. So that can only get better. Now, in terms of how AFRIKANEKT sees our ability to assist in this, it would be by bringing more awareness to your everyday person of how this can affect them. So for the most part right now, the dissemination of information of what African Continental Free Trade Area is able to do has been done on a very high level. So diplomats, heads of states, big business people, but the average trader, truck driver, farmer, etc., doesn't understand the minutia of how this deal can benefit them and their family. So that's what we want to help to break down for everyday language, colloquial language, for people to be able to understand how they can participate in now this open space of trade between everybody.
What are your plans for those SMEs? Okay, what are your plans to educate? You don't know what you don't know, and you're also in an isolation. If you're in Nigeria or if you're in Rwanda and you're outside of the major markets, but you're a farmer. How do you reach those farmers? How do you reach those schools and engage them in order for them to prosper and just get recognized and become more marketable?
Yeah, we go by the 10% rule. So 10% rule states that of the population that you hope to reach with any kind of business, you should really undershoot and go for 10%. So because we understand that the population wise, let's say in just Rwanda, the population is about 12.2 million people. 1 million live in Kigali, the capital. So that 1 million is our beginning target. Now we take 10% of that, which brings us down to 100,000. That's our conservative goal of the people that would have smartphones. Now, again, very conservative. It's like that number is definitely higher than that. So then we don't only settle for that. We take 10% of the 100,000 and we get 10,000. That 10,000 people is what we're counting on to actually take action and download the application. So you see, we've taken our least common denominator of potential traction that we would get. And then what we do at that point is reverse engineer, saying that of those 10,000 people that are our initial early adopters, 10%, they will at least have one friend that they tell. So now we have another 10,000 people that have been turned on to AFRIKANEKT through word of mouth. Then that 10,000 people that are the second group are going to have another one friend each that is different than that first friend in the first group. So now we have 30,000. And exponentially, you can do the math going on up. But also, it's unpredictable in a way because a lot of people are going to tell more than one person. So that graph can be very surprising. At least as the team, we have started to manage our expectations based on the least common denominator, and it can only get better from there. Now, in terms of reaching every single farmer, we're not even saying that that's our goal or that that's even a realistic thing for us to say. This is going to take time, and it's going to be a process, and word of mouth is going to have a lot to do with it because that's just how things are done on the continent. You know, one person tells another person tells another person. So mobile penetration isn't going to be the same in the city as it is in rural areas. So we're definitely taking that into account and knowing that it's going to be a process of this word of mouth getting around.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So how are you living? Let's talk about life in Rwanda, man.
Yeah.
I mean, please share. You are sharing with me and some of the people in the room, but let's speak on it. You know, tell us about the experience in Africa.
Man, life in Rwanda is pretty dope. First off, the weather here is perfect. It's ideal. I would say it's springtime all the time. It is the rainy season right now, which the rainy season here pretty much means that it's gonna rain hard, like maybe once every other day for like 20 minutes to 30 minutes. And then it stops, the sun comes out, and everything is just like, back to life again. Which is cool. To be honest, like, the rain's a good thing. If you look at the vegetation and the valleys, everything is just completely green and pristine. There's a huge community here of agricultural professionals that is encouraging to us to be able to create virtual cooperatives to strengthen what they are already doing. Because, like, in terms of what they grow here, I mean, like, you name it, they have it. It's a great mesocosm of what the supply of Africa to the world's food security should be. And I would say that the next thing that needs to happen, obviously, is processing and actual packaging of end user products. For instance, from a tomato to tomato sauce, just for instance. Life where I am, I'm in Kigali, which is the capital. I have a little apartment that I've rented. It's really dope. It's like one room, but also we have our large enough space to create like a makeshift office and kitchen with a bar and, these kind of things. I've got a great view at nighttime, which some of you guys have seen, which looks out onto like the hills of Kigali. And we can see with very good visual the great landmark of the city, which is the convention center, which is a very amazing building. If you guys haven't seen it before, just look up Kigali Convention Center. Looks like a spaceship. And at nighttime, all lit up, looks really dope. Every now and again, I've taken a trek out to the country, which are rural areas, which has been just amazingly just gives you life, like to see that not so far removed from like the city lights and the paved roads and all this is the rural area, which is just fresh air. It's fresh air. The other day I went to a place called Gicumbi District, which I kid you guys not is literally like going up, I don't know how many thousand feet we were, but it felt like we would never stop going up. And then you look down into the valley, and it's just you can see down forever. You see goats like hanging onto the edge of the cliff, kind of thing. So yeah, it's just amazing that on top of like when we got out, it's a whole nother like swag, to the people up there. Like they're just doing their thing in terms of raising their animals, raising their
or do they navigate down in Kigali, or they stay there?
Normally, I would say people move around a lot more because you see pretty much everyone has a bicycle or a motorbike, and then you have your 10% that would have a car. But like bicycles, you see them carrying everything on a bicycle, like literally everything. Pieces of wood, like grain sacks, like the produce from the farm, everything is on the bicycle. And these kids get paid by the farmers or by the producer, etc.
Go back again. You said carrying everything on a bicycle.
Yeah, so pretty much people are carrying everything on a bicycle. It's like it's like the horse, so to speak. So like these kids on the bicycles are getting paid by the farmers and the dairy producers or business people, what have you, to be taking like these goods from one place to another all day long. So like you see them like hustling up and down, to be able to do the most deliveries, etc.
Tell us about the culture. I mean, I do want to know, the cuisine, but the culture of the people as well.
I would say,
and compare to Jamaica, compare to Tanzania, Kenya. Is there some similarities?
I would say yes. There's a very humble spirit in the air. Like everyone's super humble and just like chill, like laid back. You really get the feeling that people aren't getting too angst about anything. And maybe that's a lot different than what I felt in Kenya, to be honest, because Kenya, I would say like you do get a feeling of people complain about a lot of things, whether it be like the government or corruption or young people aren't getting listened to or this, that, the other. Rwanda is uniquely different in that respect because they do have a feeling of hope and that the government is listening to them and they're able to affect change. A good example of why I can say this with some conviction is because we've been interviewing some interns who are like fresh college graduates or like last year of school to be working with AFRIKANEKT, and it's an academic internship where like these young people would be getting taught business skills, like business 101 type of skills. So like during the interview process, I've been asking them like, these basic questions, like, how do they feel about the energy in the country and, possibility for SMEs, entrepreneurship, encouragement by the government. And, it's always a very positive outlook on how they feel they can achieve things as a young person. So I would say that's a great indicator of what the government actually does offer in terms of assistance for that. Culturally, I wouldn't say that I have enough information yet. There's certain gatherings, what have you, that have been put on hold because of the pandemic. So you're not having large groups of people gather together. And I would say that it would be unfair for me to judge Rwanda versus other places I've been in outside of pandemic kind of times, because there is less traffic and foot movement in general all around the country here. So I haven't been able to culturally get those kinds of experiences on a quantifiable scale.
And you were quarantined when you landed, right?
Yeah. So when you come, they put you in 24-hour quarantine in a quarantine hotel, which is one of the designated places that they have a doctor on premises, and that doctor will give you a COVID test, and then you stay for 24 hours until they get the results. Now, just to show you guys the level of safety that the government has taken here with Corona. Sorry, I was trying to mute. New person came in. Yeah, I just show you the level of security they've taken here. Before you even come, you have to show where you're going to be staying. So the confirmation document saying where you're going to be staying. For both the COVID hotel you'll be staying at for 24 hours, as well as where your address will be after that. You have to show that before you get on the plane. So you have to show your negative test from wherever you're coming from. Yeah, like me from Dubai, as well as showing where you're going to be. Once you arrive at the airport, they have even, like, they're using artificial intelligence via robots. That the robots are simple robots, not like iRobot or something. Like, simple robots are able to, like, tell you different directions, different languages, and to stay safe and keep a safe distance from each other, etc. Then once you're in the COVID hotel, you're quarantined by yourself in your room. But it's not as bad as, like, that sounds at all, because the hotel was pretty cool. I had, like, a nice outdoor area. I could just, like, chill and sit outside for most of the day. After they do the test anyway, because the test was very invasive, to say the least. They shoved this wand, like, that long down your throat, kind of like, gag up a bit. But yeah, after going through that discomfort, then you're fine. You're fine after that. And during the night, actually, I didn't even have to wait 24 hours. During the evening, the doctor knocked on my door and said, you're clear to go. You're fine. Then he kind of stood there at the doorway, and it was like 9 p.m. I'd say at that point. And I was like, okay, so you're fine. I'm like, that's good. I'll leave tomorrow. Then he finally left. I think he thought I was going to grab my stuff right away and be like, all right, let me get out of here. So I'm like, I'll leave tomorrow, bro. And he's like, all right. So yeah, that was the quarantine experience. Definitely nothing wrong with that. I think every country should at least do a 24-hour quarantine for anyone visiting the country, so that they're able to, as well. There's another element I wanted to add on to that. They do it, like, major restaurants as well as tourism hotspots. They do a contact tracing, so they'll take your name, what time you arrived there, etc. So if someone, like, has slipped through the cracks and does get sick, then they can at least have a contact tracing framework and say, well, anyone that's been in this area as well, in this location, they would also call in, because they have their mobile number where they're staying. They have their address where they're staying, their name, etc., when they were there, and these kinds of things. So they are actively monitoring cases and using prevention as opposed to just cure.
Yeah, that's fascinating, man. I'm glad that they're proactive and taking the lead. over a lot of countries. Of course, we know what's happening in America with them sleeping at the wheel. How's the numbers right now in Rwanda? Are they pretty moderate, or are they below? Or?
Good question. Up to the time, just give me a moment. I don't want to give anyone off information. Rwanda numbers today. Okay, so
as you look at that, I want to ask you, how's Africa with COVID right now as a continent? Are there some countries in the red, or we know about Mauritius? Was it Mauritius? No. Who had COVID organics?
Yeah, Madagascar.
Was it Mauritius?
Madagascar.
Madagascar. They're doing really well. How's the continent?
Well, let me just give you the stats on Rwanda first. I just found those. So,
Okay.
Total cases are 4,789. Recovered is 3,080. So, like a majority have recovered, and total deaths have been 29. So
29 for the entire country.
Yeah. So I would say that Rwanda is handling this very well, and not just in my own opinion, from a expert opinion. Even the tourism organization globally has given Rwanda as one of the few countries as a gold star, to say how they're dealing with everything, and suggested to other countries that this is a safe place to travel. Because of the measures they've taken into account. In terms of Africa as a continent, let's see. What I'm seeing right now is just going really country to country. But I know that the main point is that the worst hit country in Africa is South Africa, and even South Africa, compared globally, isn't anywhere near like the U.S. or like a lot of countries in Europe. So if not
I heard about our brothers and sisters in Nigeria, because they have over 200 million people.
Yeah. Well,
somewhere.
Yeah, and look, a lot has to do with mitigating risk and exposure. So, for instance, Nigeria has 8,000 cases, 49,000 recovered, again, which is a great number in terms of recoveries, and deaths for that kind of population, only 1,100 deaths.
Okay.
So, again, you see, whereas it's for whatever reason, Africa is handling this not as bad as what the global community would have thought, as well as we're working on ways to restart the various economies within Africa that have suffered due to not being able to trade as people are used to how they have done business in the past. And I'll say this as well. What I've noticed is everywhere that I see around here, walking along the street, etc., everybody's wearing a mask. The billboards encourage hand washing. Even every establishment, before you walk in, they have a hand washing station outside. Even at the public market, I went to a market the other day. They have a hand washing station outside, so you wash your hands. Volunteers are volunteering to give people instruction in local languages and make sure that they understand why, and the prevention measures and benefits. So it's being consistently shared of what's going on and why it's important. And I would say, like places like like in the States, whereas you have no mask wearing people, etc. Look. We have to get through this to get to a better place. So people that are not patient are endangering, the lives of others. I would say, regardless of what you think in terms of, oh, it's not that big a deal or whatever. It is a real thing, period, and no one can deny that. So, yeah.
Yeah, and they don't realize they're prolonging it by doing this.
That's what I mean. Like, you know, if we want to get out to the other end of it, then just do the hard stuff now, you know, which is not actually that hard. And so just listen, you know, stop being so, you know, I've got rights and no one tells me what to do, you know, like, just get over yourself is what I would like give advice to anybody. Get over yourself. It's not about you. No one said this rule is for Heath Bailey only. You know, like, it's not about any individual person. So when we understand it from that perspective and we want to look after our fellow human being, then you just do what's necessary to live in a society. If you want to make your own rules, then go to a deserted island, you know, kind of thing. And then you can not wear a mask as much as you want to.
Right. So I want to open up, and I guess you have the mouse button to unmute people, but those who have questions for you, I would love to open it up to questioning. I know that Sanya, just our sister, I'll be seeing her later this weekend. Happy belated birthday to her.
Yeah,
she said, from my knowledge of spending most of the lockdown in Nigeria and her research, the numbers has been tampered with for financial gain. I think that's a great point. I know I'm quite sure that's the case in most countries. So, you know, maybe Rwanda, but it seems like some of the countries in Africa have really done a good job, because I know Ethiopia has done an excellent job as well. So, but let's open up if you can. If someone has a question, please type that you have a question. We'll unmute you, and we'll try to interact with our brother Marlon, who is in the motherland in Rwanda. Who do we have now? Is that Sanya?
Hey,
Marlon?
thanks for the birthday wishes. And it's great to hear in more depth, Marlon, how Rwanda is going. I've loved your questions, Heath. I think you've covered so much. So I just wanted to unmute and say that I'm really enjoying this.
Anybody else with a question? Okay. I know some people have jumped on and they're multitasking, so they might not be on right now. They look like they're in the room. Jeff.
Yes, I'm still here.
What's up, my brother?
Hey, how you doing, Heath?
Hey, Jeff, we were talking about Marlon last night, man.
We were.
Yeah.
Marlon, how you doing, man?
Very good, brother. Good to see you.
Thank you. Man, thank you for such it was a very comprehensive presentation. I was taking notes the entire time.
Oh, cool.
I had an opportunity I had a conversation with the head of school at a school called Green Hill Academy there in Kigali.
Okay.
Daniel Hollinger, we spoke on Saturday afternoon. So this is very, very timely. And he echoed a lot of the statements that you were just mentioning about Rwanda. And so I was wanted to thank you for that. I did have one question. I don't know how much you've delved into the political scene there, but the country seems to be very progressive in a lot of ways, and it certainly is very, very attractive to somebody who wants to enter Africa, I think. But I noticed that the president seems to be doing a great job. He's been in power for 20 years now, and I know that's not unusual for Africa. But I'm just wondering I don't know much about the election cycle there, but you kind of feel like one party or one group is sort of dominating the leadership of the country and the governance of it, or do you feel like everybody's sort of has a voice?
Wow. Good question. I would say I don't know much about the political scene in terms of the parties per se. What I will say, though, of President Kagame is that democracy in and of itself is a construct. Okay, similar to utopia. Yeah. So it's something to strive towards, but it can't necessarily exist any longer because democracy is one person, one vote. Yeah, and
right.
And their ability to be able to influence policy. as we know from supposedly the greatest democracy in the world, America, it doesn't work that way, does it? And America is really a republic, not a democracy. So when we think about African democracy, so to speak, I would more so judge it by what's getting done. We really have to judge things by how the people are benefiting from that person's leadership and actually what they're instilling for future generations. Because even like in Dubai, you know, we have a good example in the leadership there of what is actually being done, and do the people that are supposed to benefit from it, are they benefiting? And again, in the example of UAE, Dubai, Abu Dhabi, etc., I would say that's for the most part true. And I think the same thing here. I do get a feeling from the young people that they can see a path to prosperity in life, and some are even living that right now. So to answer that, I don't know about the party systems and all this stuff, but I know that President Kagame is doing a good job.
He is. And one thing I learned on the call, I was looking at the cost of tuition for schools, and you know, there's always a lot of international schools, but usually the cost makes it prohibitive for 98% of the people that live in the country. So the school ends up just a place for Western expatriates and very high-end, high-income earners in the country. But in Rwanda, it seemed like the education is, even the international schools, Kigali, I mean, the Green Hill Academy is a big private school, and but the tuition is such that I think 90% of the population are Rwandans, you know, middle-class Rwandans that can go and get their children a good education. And that, I understand that was by design, so that's very, very encouraging.
Wow.
You know, just to strengthen the education point, like I said, we're working with interns here that are going to be in a program that we're developing for AFRIKANEKT that pretty much teaches them business 101. So like, you know, their first practical experience at work as soon as they graduate, and even like somewhere in their last year of school. And we've noticed that like there's so many different college names that are popping up, from University of Kigali, Carnegie Mellon in Rwanda. There's one called Davis College, you know, which is very big with IT, information systems as well. And then there's another one called African Leadership University, ALU, which the first campus is in Mauritius and the Kigali campus is the second one. So there's really a good tradition of education, and the government's really promoting that heavily.
It's fantastic.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow. Thanks for sharing, man. Thanks for asking those questions, Jeff. A lot of us, I would probably include Sanya in this conversation. We always think about an impact investment in Africa. Jeff and I talked about that last night at dinner. Just making an impact here in the Middle East or in somewhere in Africa where we can, you know, bring our intellectual property over. And I think that AFRIKANEKT is a catalyst or a start in something like that. We talked about, and I've been having a few conversations with colleagues about Akon City is 2026. And he's not allowing the euro to be spent in Akon City, but instead they're going to have to convert it into the Acoin crypto to be spent in Akon City. And I have my eyes on education in Senegal right now. Like I want to get, and Jeff and I talked about it last night, I want to get a jump on that. I want to take a trip there. Yeah. And there's a gentleman here who we know called Suleiman Akbar, who's also thinking about that. So I want to take a trip. But Rwanda, from my understanding, is also welcoming to people from the diaspora who has ideas that want to come and, you know, start up some things, businesses, education, everything. And that's probably a place we need to go, Sanya, Jeff. We might be joining you, Dandy.
Hey, for sure, 100%. you guys think about it, again, with the size of the country here, and so far the leadership's ability to be able to have people speak with one voice, that's what's really encouraging the growth model here. And I think that the more that African countries can at least take that little tidbit of just saying, let's mitigate the things that divide us and champion the things that unite us, that's the way forward. So if education is something that unites people, I mean, I don't know any culture, tribe, whatever, like religion, whatever, would break it down and say, we don't want to be educated. That's usually only spoken from like a tyrannical level, which means that the people should have a right to look for something better anyhow. So if people are really after education, healthcare, like better communication, better roads, infrastructure, and these kinds of things, then these are unifying factors, and they don't and shouldn't have to do with whoever's in power, because regardless, that should be your mandate to get better things for your people. Like, what else could be a controversial topic about these things that are just universally accepted as human dignity, human rights?
Wow. What is the currency in Rwanda?
So it's called the franc. Yeah, they have a franc here as well. Again, because of the French history, like a lot of things are called franc. In West Africa, actually, it's called the CFA franc. CFA franc. It's pegged to the euro, which is where you might have gotten that from. As that's pegged to the euro, it has parity, okay, which sounds good in terms of stability, but at the end of the day, West African countries are not able to control their own financial resources because they have to deposit more than half of it in French banks, and that's what people like Dr. Afrikan has been really making, especially the diaspora, aware of this situation that France has really been having their knee on West Africa's neck in that respect, especially French West Africa. So there's been calls by the ECOWAS, which is the West African community, to have a new form of currency, which has been adopted, but some say that this ECO is really just another name for still the CF franc. So not to go far down that road, but in our Rwanda, we just have the franc, but the president has distanced himself from France. French was an official language. It's no longer an official language in Rwanda.
Good.
You still have a lot of people that do speak French, Kinyarwanda, which is the local language, Kinyarwanda, Swahili. So these are the three main, and then a growing number of people are speaking English as well, especially among the young people.
Wow. Man, it's interesting. Can you live there? Do you see yourself staying there? I mean, I know you're there for a time being. You do have a return trip. We checked on that. We made sure you had a return trip, return ticket. But do you see yourself, is that a place that you can settle?
Yeah, so from a business standpoint, 100%. We have already made the commitment of Rwanda being the home for our headquarters, our African headquarters, to set up the business, to partner with people like Visit Rwanda, the tourism board here, and the Rwanda Development Board. So from a work aspect, 100%, I can see this as a very stable and good place to do business and to be established. From a life standpoint, I haven't seen everything. Like this is just the beginning of my third week here, but so far what I've seen has been encouraging. Just like fresh, like fresh things. Like even yesterday I was at like a friend's farm that was in another rural area, but like the lake, I put up some pictures, on my IG before, but the lake, like I don't know, like, I don't want to be one of the people that's like, oh, you know, you wouldn't be able to tell it's Africa. But I hate when people say that. But they've only been getting the bad picture. They've only been getting one side of the story, which is not a side really at all. The visuals that you see here are just like unspoiled, like just amazing nature. The air is so fresh and skies are so blue and the water's like pristine. So yeah, so why not? You know, like the answer to that question, why not? You know, you can definitely, I can definitely live in Rwanda, no problem.
Wow. Will you be traveling anywhere outside of the country into another nation within the continent?
Yeah. So I have a 90-day visa, and it's an East African visa. So because there's this union called EAC, East African Community, they do a lot of shared decisions such as this. So as soon as the land borders open back up, because look, once I get somewhere in Africa, I don't want to fly around anymore. Even if it's to go to South Africa, I'd much rather take a long overland journey and see a bunch of stuff and have a bunch of experiences than to fly there and only get like a perspective. So my visa is for Kenya, it's for Uganda, and it's for Rwanda. I do want to go to Kenya with friends and link up, but only when the land border opens back up. So supposedly that's going to be around the 15th of October. So yeah, let's see. The majority of my time though is going to be spent here in Rwanda working on the business. That's why we're here, to make a change, make a difference, and partner with people.
Wow. Well, hey man, thank you. You know, you do well on the other side of the table. My brother, I love you. We miss you here in Dubai, but we're proud of you, man. We really are. We're proud of you.
Just quickly before before I let you jump off or end, I'd like everybody to know. Please visit AFRIKANEKT.com, AFRIKANEKT, AFRIKANEKT.com. Get a bit more information on the page, but as well, understand right now, I had my Jeff Bezos moment the other day, and I told some of you guys about that. And pretty much what that means is that if you think of any of the great founders, you know, so to speak, is like, you know, we've seen through technology, that's like the Apple, Steve Jobs, and Microsoft with Bill Gates, and Twitter, you know, et cetera. Like all these guys usually have a picture of them in like a garage or a one-room office, et cetera, with just one like little identifying thing on the wall that just says their company name. So I sat here in my apartment / office, and I just decided I need a poster. So I printed a poster, ran across the street, like, you know, found like this print shop, and put that on the wall. And then I took my Bezos moment picture. So I say that to say that if you talk to anybody that was around in them days and that was close to any of those founders, they'll tell you if they didn't invest then, they regret nothing more than not investing a small amount with that company at that time. Because now those stocks are unapproachable. So I'll say the same thing with AFRIKANEKT. If you guys think about our target market, continental Africans and global diaspora, that's a potential audience of 1.7 billion people. Okay, number one, is completely being overlooked in terms of the way we look at them. Secondly, in terms of exactly what AFRIKANEKT does, no one else does this across the board, to look after all those different industries and particularly to put us in touch with each other. So we have opened up a limited share offering, and you guys can you know, contact me individually, you know, as you will. But generally, it just means that we are open to limited shareholders at a minimum level. And like I said, we can discuss that individually. So you can be a part of your own success. AFRIKANEKT is not my app; it's our app. This is the definition of Ubuntu. And I don't say that as a sales pitch, because if you think about every other application, how do you actually benefit out of it? You know, you'd be hard pressed to spin the story to say how you benefit from Facebook, for instance. However, I can clearly illustrate how you benefit from AFRIKANEKT in your everyday lives, as well as anyone on the continent as well. So yeah, thank you guys for your support, and just feel free to hit me up whenever, and we can have a one-on-one. All I do all day long anyway, talk to people about AFRIKANEKT. So this is just my favorite topic. So let's go.
Let's do it.
We appreciate you, man. And once again, let's call it episode 2, Global Brothers Podcast, with our brother, co-host, friend, Marlon Ware. We're going to call it, stay tuned for that. Brother, be safe. I echo what MKO says. Be safe and live global and prosper.
Right.
Peace, everybody.
Peace.
Peace out.
Check us out on YouTube, Global Brothers Podcast, and please subscribe and share and, continue to support, good content.
Tell everybody. Mr. Worldwide.